Well, what a day, because news and information as a Wednesday edition of Orange and Blue Today kicks off. And Mase, there's somebody coming into town for dinner with the Denver Broncos, and his name is JK Dobbins.
Guess who's coming to dinner, right?
Yes.
The guy in the middle right there. And the question is he going to be staying? Is it one dinner or is it going to be many dinners? So the first of many or one of one? Does he leave without a contract or does he leave as a member of the Denver Broncos? That is to be determined. But yeah, JK Dobbins, according to Tom Pelissero, first to report this today, is going to be meeting with the Denver Broncos. And what does this say about the running back room? What does it say about what the Broncos maybe think of this running back room? What does it say about the progress of RJ Harvey? What does it say maybe about the guy on the left there in that opening screen grab there, that opening graphic, Audric Estime? What does it say about Jaleel McLaughlin? See, I think it probably has less to do maybe with Audric Estime and more to do with the others, although it may well sort of have a little bit to do perhaps with RJ Harvey and maybe what they expect from him here in year one, because as we know, it can be pretty hard for a young running back to get pass protection down in year one. And that's the thing that may put a cap on just how much playing time RJ Harvey might have right out of the blocks.
Well, I'm going to put my tinfoil hat on a minute 50 into the show.
Wow.
And the only difference between conspiracy theory and reality is about 6 months. But I'll give you about 6 minutes to react to this.
Woo.
They might not have seen what they wanted to see. And it might, and I would only guess that it's Audric Estime. So we can debate, like, does it say more about Jaleel? Does it say more about Audric? RJ's a rookie, so, you know, the time of learning pass protection, like, I'm not giving him a pass, Mase, but the Dobbins move, and they haven't signed him. They're just taking him out to dinner, and then he'll be at the facility tomorrow where you will be. And we've got some big stuff for you tomorrow, so we'll give you a little show update at the end here. But for me, I go, you do this because, one, that deadline with the Chargers is coming up, as they had a tender on an unrestricted guy, which is just weird.
Yeah,
and then
very rare.
I think maybe you haven't seen what you needed to see. Total guess, could be totally wrong, but you meet with JK Dobbins because Estime either fumbled in practice or you haven't been happy with what you've seen.
Yeah. Now, Sean Payton did say that Audric Estime would get opportunities. In fact, let's start there. Let's replay Sean Payton's comment last Thursday when I asked him about Audric Estime.
Yeah, year two for him, just running style, his physicality, the things that got him drafted, the things that we saw. A little bit harder for him last year for a handful of these guys. I don't want to say the grade was incomplete, but they just didn't have enough. He's a back that requires enough touches. He's going to get those opportunities.
He's going to get those opportunities, but we also know that his window for opportunities would have been larger last year had he not put the ball on the ground, put the ball on the ground in preseason, put the ball on the ground in week one, put the ball on the ground in New Orleans to the point where they had him carrying the football around the facility. And that's why let's take a look at just some of the good and bad on J.K. Dobbins over his career. The bad down there, it's obvious. It's the injury history.
Right.
That he has missed more games than he's played, including postseason, over the course of his career. But the good, see right there in his career, one fumble every 244 touches in his career. Only two fumbles.
Wow. I like that.
Yes.
I like that a lot. Veteran, can trust him, productive. And if you got Bo Lowry and that magic in that building, I mean, these guys have done a good job. I mean, they're doing that. They're taking a chance on Talanoa Hufanga that he'll get back to his strength. They're taking a chance on Dre Greenlaw, who's dealing with an injury now. That their system and the way that they approach, plyometrics or whatever, like the recovery, maybe Dobbins is worth that chance. And I like this look, Mase.
Think about this for a moment. If we go by regular season touches, that Audric Estime has as many fumbles and 81 touches as JK Dobbins has in 488 touches.
Wow.
Okay. So yeah, ball security, job security. But yes, the Broncos, to go to the point right there, yeah, the Broncos do believe their methodology can get better results. It's a reason why they are willing to roll the dice on Dre Greenlaw and Talanoa Hufanga. They believe they can keep them healthier. They believe they can get better outcomes. Now, if you roll the dice so many times, eventually it does come up snake eyes. But okay, let's say you've got Evan Engram coming off of an injury, Talanoa Hufanga, Dre Greenlaw, and let's say they sign JK Dobbins as well. I don't think you're going to bat 1,000 on those guys staying healthy. But what if you bat even 500 on those guys?
I like it.
You've made the team better. Now, the thing is, like, if you bat 500, you're hoping you bat 500 at the positions where you're deeper, right? If you bat 500, you're hoping that one on the positive side of the 500 is tight end, because you're thin as a promise there right now. Unfortunately, the Broncos did add another undrafted tight end, of course, yesterday, but it's still a very thin room.
Yes. Yep. It's a thin room, and it's one that you're looking to upgrade in this running back room. And the Dobbins thing, very interesting because of what he can do with RJ. I think that's the combination as well, because it's RJ Harvey at a certain level, but Mase, what is the touches count? It was, 201 touches for Kamara as a rookie. That's off the top of my head. I don't know right now. And if Dobbins is signed, because just today on Dover and Cecil, I said, give me 200 touches for RJ Harvey. I'd love it. Don't know if that's going to happen, but you add JK Dobbins, and it doesn't have to happen. Like you've got just dessert and then an extra tray of dessert. If you have Dobbins being able to carry the load and Harvey being able to kind of warm up to the pro game without being heavily reliant on him just yet.
Now, the thing with Alvin Kamara, he did have 201 touches right on the nose there.
Okay.
As a rookie. In terms of games played, so this is basically saying, okay, like he played 13 games in 2021 and he had 287 touches. So he had more than 20 touches a game that year because, of course, he played in 13 games. So Kamara has exceeded 20 touches a game only in, let's see here, only in 2021, and then the most recent season, which would be 2024, when he had a career high 296. So he's only done it once with Sean Payton. Played 5 years for Sean Payton, only hit 20 touches a game once. He likes tandems. He likes to have two running backs there.
Yeah.
The thing is, of course, with JK Dobbins is just how long he lasts. He did make it through 13 regular season games and a playoff game last year with the Chargers. But despite being pretty productive, and let's just take a look real quick at his numbers from last year. 81.4 yards a game last year from scrimmage.
Nice.
Pretty good. Pretty good. Average 4.6 yards per rush. You'd like to get that yards per catch up. That was 4.8.
Yeah.
So that's I think some of that is also a function of their offense as well.
Right.
By the way, 4.6 yards per catch. We're going to throw out the 2023 season when he only played one game. The 3 seasons when he's played at least 8 games, that was actually his lowest yards per catch figure. So, I mean, just chew on that for a moment. It was also the year when he had a career high in rushes. He never carried the ball 195 times. His previous high in rushing attempts was 134 as a rookie. 227 touches last year. That was a career high. He'd never had more than 152 touches before that. So he did more. He did more of everything last year than he'd done before, had a higher workload than he had before. You see right there, 0 fumbles. So he showed certainly that he could hold up. Only, a couple of nagging little things, but he played through it. A pretty good season. But at the same time, we're sitting here right now in early June, and nobody picked him up. And the Chargers did put that little unrestricted qualifying offer out there. The rare thing. That doesn't really have much of an impact on the Broncos, except that if the Broncos do sign him, it does mean that JK Dobbins would count toward the calculation for a potential compensatory pick. Right now, according to overthecap.com, the Broncos are actually in line to receive a compensatory pick next year. I believe it's a 7th round pick, which is pretty rare for a Sean Payton team. From 06 through 21, the Saints had fewer compensatory picks than any team in the NFL. That was, of course, during the Sean Payton era. Compensatory picks are not something that Sean Payton has shown to particularly care all that much about. So I think that's part of why JK Dobbins is here. He doesn't give a whit about that. Usually when you don't have qualifying offers on free agents, once you get past mid-May, you can sign a player and they don't count toward the compensatory calculus. That's why this whole qualifying offer thing on a UFA is actually pretty interesting, because it does change the dynamic slightly. And maybe, this is where maybe George Payton maybe has an opinion that may not be quite as open and shut as it might have been without this element in there.
It's math. You know, it changes your math a little bit. But I look at the veteran experience, the no fumbles, dude. I mean, you've put it out there. This is the key, because trusted and honestly, Mase, you said the 13 games. Tell me where that's at. You know what I mean? If he misses those games and it's in December and he misses the playoff game, well, I don't like that. But if he misses some time in October and then he comes back healthy and then he's good from mid-November all the way through the playoffs, like, I like that. I like that for Dobbins. We can't expect him to play a full season if added. And the price tag's going to be, fairly average, $4 million a year, whatever the number. But give me when those games are played. And I like it as long as that win is December and January.
And this is where you count on your depth, okay? I mean, Audric Estime, maybe he's pushed down a little bit, but he's still on the team. And you say, okay, can you figure it out? Can you maybe not fumble? Can we work with you to get that fumble rate down? Or has Blake Watson worked his way back into the mix? This is another thing. With Blake Watson, a year removed from the draft, you might be able to sneak him back into the practice squad. Now that you're a year beyond that, there's another crop of draft running backs there. Then it becomes a question of, does he take that or does he want to go somewhere else? If you can convince him to say, okay, stay on the practice squad, and then you might be able to do that, because frankly, JK Dobbins' injury rate means that if you are a practice squad running back like Blake Watson or Tyler Bidet, you might feel like there's a pretty good chance for you to get an opportunity to play, just given the fact that Dobbins has been hurt pretty frequently in his career. If he's one of the running backs on the 53, you could go to the practice squad and feel like, okay, I'm probably going to get called up and get some carries at some point.
Mm-hmm.
So it's one of those things where you might see a practice squad running back that effectively becomes RB2, maybe for a short stint, maybe for a long stint, if unfortunately a major injury befalls JK Dobbins, if he's signed to the Broncos. Because you could be looking at a situation where I could see 4 running backs here. I could see a RJ Harvey, JK Dobbins, Audric Estime still making the 53, but maybe being in a situation where, okay, he's a fumble away from not being trusted, that sort of thing, or maybe being squarely on the bubble, and maybe he doesn't make the 53. And somehow I still see Jaleel McLaughlin in the mix, because he's in a different category. Like he is like the scat back.
It's almost a different position.
Yeah, he's almost like it's almost like slot corner, nickel corner is different than outside, right?
Right.
It's almost like Jalil's on his own island. So, I mean, someone responded to me and said, if they bring in JK Dobbins, is it bad news for Jalil McLaughlin? I'm not sure that it is, because Jalil is a different body type. He's almost a different entity than these other running backs. JK Dobbins is more comparable to Audric Estime in terms of his build and body type. He's a lot closer to that than he is to Jalil McLaughlin, certainly. So because of that, let's say you have a situation. Let's say Audric Estime has put it on the ground and has made everybody a little nervous, and this is maybe the impetus for what's going on. So in that instance, if you end up going, let's say you go 3 running backs and it's RJ Harvey and you've signed JK Dobbins and he's 1, and then Jalil McLaughlin is the 3rd, and he's that scat back type. You might be using the practice squad to store a running back who may end up being very important. You're playing the roster gymnastics game here, right? And then you're also sort of saying, okay, who's going to slip through? But again, that's where when you get to you get a year or 2 removed for these running backs past the draft class, this is where the likelihood of being able to slip them through the practice squad increases, because you have another rookie class that's come in and those are the hot guys and all that. But then the other possibility is, if any of these guys explode during the preseason, they put out film and then all of a sudden, oh, you can't slip them through. If Blake Watson or Audric Estime go out and they tear it up in the preseason and you think, oh, maybe we can slip them through, you might not be able to. So that also looms as well. There's all these factors that kind of come into play here when you're trying to build that. I would actually say Tyler Bidet is at the point in his career that you probably could slip him through the practice squad pretty comfortably again, and then bring him up much like you did last year. He might be the one where you can get him through the practice squad and then bring him back if you need him to.
And I don't want to be a cold bucket of reality, but a guy like Bidet, he might just be out there. You know what I mean? This draft class was so thick that, let's say Devin Neal doesn't make it in New Orleans, but he makes it to the practice squad. But this draft class is so thick that guys like Bidet, you might not even have a practice squad spot, but you'll be out there, you'll be ready to go. Maybe it doesn't happen, I'm totally wrong, but that's how this league operates. And there's a lot of young backs that aren't going to make 53s that are going to be interested in a lot of, I think we see some practice squad movement with these teams with that position specifically.
Or perhaps a claim the day after cuts. Now, the Broncos having a relatively low priority claim because they were a playoff team last year, it works against them. But if a team does try to slip somebody through who perhaps fell, and if it's somebody they liked, that does change the dynamic as well, because like you said, this was an unusually deep running back class. And if somebody tries to sneak a player through that they liked, why wouldn't you do that? Again, so that does come into play as well. There could be some wild cards there, and that's where your pro scouting guys come into play. Like they earn their paychecks too.
Did Jordan Dizon? He's in pro personnel, right? Where did they put Jordan?
Yeah, he's back in pro personnel with the Broncos.
Okay.
He's the director of pro personnel, so that's on him.
There you go, Jordan.
That's where he earns his money.
Great eye for talent previously with the Broncos, and then working under Howie Roseman.
Yeah,
I mean, that's all you got to say. So, I like that.
He got his master's basically in pro personnel, working under Howie Roseman.
I love that guy.
Yeah,
love that guy.
It can't hurt getting 3 years of work for Howie like that. Right. Coming back with a ring too. Hey.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah, that's not too bad either. So,
yeah, you're going to have some options here, depending on the Dobbins thing. Obviously, physical, very important here. But he's going to be out there where you will be, Mase, tomorrow. Now, he might just be in street clothes visiting, talking to Greg Penner.
Or he might be gone.
He might be gone.
Yeah, he might be gone. We're having all this discussion about how he might fit, and he might be gone.
Or he might be in uniform.
Yeah, he might be in uniform, or he might be gone like a Colorado breeze on a cloudy June day.
Mm,
It is cloudy out there right now, cloudy and stormy, isn't it? As I look
it is. Yes.
in the view here from my little DTC studio. So
Okay.
yes. But this certainly changed the dynamic. Did this happen before you went off the air today, Cease, by the way?
Right as we went, we were doing crosstalk,
Ooh,
and it was like
yeah.
2:05, and all of a sudden Dover, because we're talking about Brock Nelson, and all of a sudden Dover said, "Hey, to interrupt you guys, but JK Dobbins is in town," and it
Woo!
changed our show. Our show today, Behind the Curtain, was just going to be like, "What do you expect from OTAs?" For me, Mase, and your articles at DenverSports.com, you hit it on the head. Your very first point of like, show what you showed last week. You know, continue to show that development.
Keep stacking, especially if you're one of
Yes.
those reserves, those young reserves. Like I liked seeing, I pointed out in the story, guys like Chris Abrams-Drain and D'Andrea Tillman, who had really good days last week. We saw in the day we saw. Just keep stacking those days. Keep making impressions. Just consolidate your spot, consolidate your place, and then show that you're worthy of more playing time, especially for somebody like Tillman. He had a very good run into the end of the season last year. And, you know, there's a cliche in baseball, momentum is as much as the next day's starting pitcher. I mean, and momentum doesn't necessarily carry over. Sean Payton likes to say, hey, everybody starts over again when you start the following season. So, you know, what do you do? Like, how do you make sure that you build off of that so you can continue making those steps? Well, what I saw from Abrams-Drain and Tillman showed that they are making those steps. They did use last year as a foundation to keep going forward. And especially for Tillman, with them drafting somebody at his position, Q Robinson, that's something that you kind of need to keep doing because, hey, you got somebody coming in who's, you know, eager and had some flashes there at rookie minicamp. You got to kind of, you know, keep going there a little bit. So it was good to see him do that. It's nice to have what appears to be some robust depth there at the edge and robust depth there at corner, because those are positions where at times, especially corner, the Broncos have been caught short depth-wise. I feel great about the depth at corner right now.
Yeah.
They drafted Jahdae Barron, of course, bring him in, but seeing how Abrams-Drain appears to be stepping up, knowing now that with Barron, if he ends up playing extensively, that does maybe perhaps move Jaquan McMillan down, but then if he's your depth, you're feeling great about that. Just like if PJ Locke becomes depth, now you feel great about that because that was a starter and now he's experienced there on the second team. Again, that's part of it all, that you feel great about the depth going forward. And hey, if you bring in JK Dobbins to the running back room, maybe he's not necessarily RB1, but you're feeling great about depth because that just makes the entire room better if you do bring him in as well. Making this team better, having experienced depth in basically every room on the roster, that's a pretty healthy thing. And I think that's another reason why you at least kick the tires on JK Dobbins, even though you do have concerns about the injury rate, but that's where it goes back to what you mentioned earlier. You trust Bo Lowry and his staff to maybe get some different results than other teams have.
Yeah, and chat room is fired up about Dobbins again, if added. And one of our chat room people said, hey, you don't have to microwave RJ Harvey then.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. And you may not be able to anyway, especially in the pass pro element. I mean,
right.
It's possible out of this, you may be looking at JK Dobbins being the guy who works a lot of third downs potentially.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe that ends up being more of his role. Maybe JK Dobbins becomes your Samaje Perine of 2 years ago, perhaps. That may not be a bad role for him.
I wouldn't be against that at all whatsoever. And then a plus player as a runner as well.
Yeah. And that means JK Dobbins, perhaps, you know, he's not playing as much in the first quarter, perhaps in the third quarter, but maybe he's your high leverage guy when you're going for a few more spread packages, when you have to, you know, speed things up end of the half, end of the game. You know how Sean Payton likes to maximize those situations, especially at the end of the first half, starting with about the 4-minute mark in the second quarter. That's something he likes to bleed every last drop out of. That's something he feels is an advantage for his team, getting the most out of that. And that's where You see them spread things out. That's where you need that pass protecting back, or at least somebody who's more proficient and experienced at pass protection than RJ Harvey is right now. And that's where somebody like JK Dobbins, who at least has more experience there, this is his 6th year in the NFL, has seen more, maybe is more prepared to handle the rigors of that than RJ Harvey would be right now.
Okay, it is orange and blue today. Cecil, Lammy, Andrew, Mason. Mace will be out at Broncos Park, powered by Common Spirit.
I'll miss you. It's not
Programming note.
you.
Oh, I complained about it on the air again today. Programming note. We are on our way to a special event, and I suppose we can tell everybody what it is. But and Josh Dover is going to be with us. So we are going to be getting lots of great Broncos information and our Friday show and our Monday show. Like, we've got so much coming for you from the Healthy Swings event, which we will be in attendance for out at Coors Field. So tomorrow's show, Mace, let's give people a taste. We're going to be checking in super quick. It's probably like an 8-minute show, maybe 12-minute show, as we are making our way down to Coors Field for this Broncos event.
Well, it probably won't be live. We'll probably pre-record it,
right,
and it'll be in the can. So we'll have a show for you, no doubt about that. But it's going to be pre-recorded. It'll run at 5 o'clock. We'll wrap it up. We'll tell you kind of what we saw at practice. But the thing we'll be doing while the show is recording, or show is running, I should say, is we'll be out there, out at Coors Field talking to some Broncos players and catching up and getting a feel for how their offseason is going. And so all goes well, you'll see some snippets from those interviews over the next days and weeks to come. So make sure you check that out here on Orange and Blue today.
Yeah, the Healthy Swings event. We will be there and be bringing you the best Broncos content. And that's why you also follow us on the socials, because we might have some snippets there of some of the stuff we get on Thursday at Coors Field. But yeah, man, looking forward to tomorrow. Looking forward to hearing your observations. If you could please send me your notebook again, that would be awesome, because I'm fiending. Like, you all got any more than Mace's notes? Definitely fiending for it, and certainly appreciate that you share that with me.
No problem.
You and I've watched practice together so much. I know what you're seeing because I know how you watch practice.
Were you able to kind of make heads or tails of my notes, basically?
Yeah, I was.
Okay. All right. Okay. So like my abbreviation.
I know the shorthand. Yeah, because I have a similar shorthand when I take notes, because you can't write down everything. So you just like.
So I write numbers, not names.
Yes. Yep. Mm-hmm.
So you say, and like plus 15-yard gain.
Right.
My code. Overthrown, PD, all that.
Right.
Okay. I didn't know if the chicken scratch really translated, but okay. I'm glad it did. I'm glad you could figure out what I was throwing down.
Well, I appreciate it. That is for sure. We also appreciate everyone's help on YouTube. Mace, how can folks continue to do that?
Like,
comment,
share,
subscribe,
hit that notification bell,
so that you never miss a vid. That's right. He's Andrew Mason. Follow him on all the socials at Mase Denver. I'm at Cecil Lammy saying OBT's BFD. Thanks much for watching. Stay tuned, and would you please stay frosty